not words I grew up hearing or really understanding as a young South African woman. It was as a teenager growing up that I started to hear these terms like gender equality, women's empowerment, gender mainstreaming, and so on, but I never really knew what they meant. But looking back, I see that those are values that I grew up with, that I saw in the women in my life. Despite them not using this particular kind of language and terminology to articulate their being, right? So one such woman is my grandmother, a black woman who grew up in a poor black home in the rural Eastern Cape. As a young woman, she was part of the influx of migrants into Roli in the 1950s after she had received a scholarship to study nursing. Already that, as a black woman, was an achievement, right? Because we all know what life was like for black people during that time when apartheid's social, political, and economic tentacles really started to reach into every aspect of black people's lives. She defied the odds and the limits of what it meant to be a black woman and what a black woman could do during that time. And she not only qualified as a nurse, but she also became the first head nurse of the first pediatric oncology unit for black children at Baragwana Hospital, which was the largest hospital in the Southern Hemisphere, and I think it still is. So she really shattered ceilings for her time. But unfortunately, things didn't go so well for her. During the time when, in the 1950s, when South Africa's women decided that they are no longer carrying passes, she joined in the movement. And as a result of no longer carrying her pass, the apartheid government took away her nursing license, and she had to lose this job that she'd worked so hard for. And I tried to wrap my head around not being able to do what I love and what I am good at, simply for demanding to be treated as a citizen in my own country. So every Women's Month, when we commemorate the Women's March, when we commemorate women, I always think of my grandmother and how she broke all these ceilings and she did what was right. And so for me to be here today, speaking to other women who are just like her, who have defied the odds, right? Speaking to people who are in the positions to be able to be allies to women who are defying the odds really gives me a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude that me, myself, a young black woman, can be standing here today in front of you. With my qualifications, my expertise, and most importantly with my voice, because remember, even during apartheid, black women didn't even have a voice, right? They were seen as just servants. And so today I can stand here and have a conversation with you about the ways we can improve our lives as women and the ways we can improve the lives not just of women but even the LGBTQI community. Tells me that we've really come a long way as a country. So it's on that note that I want to extend my appreciation to the South African Civil Aviation Authority for inviting me to present today. It's an honor for me to be here today. Thank you. I'm not sure how this works. I think the green is the next. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to start first in terms of what do we mean when we talk about gender. And I'm doing that because this is a diverse audience of all ages, races, backgrounds. And so I'm starting at the basics because not everyone, right, would have the same knowledge or understand the language that we are using today. So for those of you who this may seem like a very basic, unnecessary thing, I apologize. So oftentimes when people talk about gender, what they really are referring to is women, right? We've started to use these terms interchangeably with the same meaning, but they actually don't mean the same thing. Also, another mistake we make is that when we talk about gender, we actually would be referring to sex, and these are very different things. Our sex is our physical biology based on the reproductive organs that we are born with, and most people are born male, female, and some people have a combination of both, which makes them intersex. But it's not enough for us to focus on inclusion. because inclusion really only serves those individuals who make it, right? We have to find ways of maximizing that inclusion, and that means to have a substantive impact as a result of the inclusion we are aiming for. We must use various platforms to reach those individuals who, like me, never even imagined the possibilities of life in an aviation industry. And it is those kinds of things that will really start to change attitudes and behaviors, not just in the aviation industry, but in society in general. Am I out of time? Can I? Okay. Okay. 2 minutes. Am I done? Am I cut off?
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I'll just quickly take you through the rest of the slides. I won't read from my notes. This image, I find it funny because I think a lot of men, when we talk about gender equality, I think that they think this is what we are going to do to them, right? I think that's why they're scared of gender equality, but this image actually represents gender equality. This image, I don't know who the artist was, but it's an image of a woman from West Africa in Benin, a Dahomey woman from pre-colonial times. In West Africa, in this kingdom, before they were colonized, women had their own military units and regiments. And they fought against slave raids, they fought against colonialism, and obviously once the French colonized them, the regiment was disbanded. But this history is so recent that the last of these women soldiers only passed away in the 1970s. So that's only 40 years ago. And I think it's these kinds of stories about ourselves as Africans, as Black women, that we need to motivate us, because they show us that we have not always been marginalized. We have not always been oppressed. And it also speaks to what the earlier definition I gave about decolonial feminism, right? That this idea that women must be in the home, women mustn't work, is really a European idea. African women have always been working. We've been working in the fields, we've been building houses, we've been weaving. African women have always been working.
For me, I love what I do. And I believe that if you love what you do, you become better at everything else. So I think it was Oprah who said, if your cup is not full, how do you fill other people's cups? If you are not fulfilled, if you are not happy, how do you become a good mother at home? So that's how I look at this. I love what I do. I would not swap it for anything. That's how much I love what I do. So to a point whereby I think when I go home, because I'm happy, everyone else is happy. Because if you're not happy, everything else, so there's no balance in your life once you are not happy yourself. So, and I spoke to the young girls earlier on. I said, there's commitment and there's interest. Are you committed to this thing? Because if you're committed, you'll do anything to make sure that this dream of you survives. If you're interested, your excuses become bigger than your whys. So I love what I do, and this is what I find. I think it's what's kept me sane, and that's what kept me going even when I was knocked down. Because I had one mission, and that was to become an airline pilot. That was it in my head. I don't know if I answered your question. It's okay. Yeah. Yes, I have tried. And this is where I go back to females and women, where unfortunately I've never met you, so now I know you. But there are still females out there who will block you. It's not even a joke. And a lot of times, what I found is that you get blocked by people who know they are not the captains of the industry, and yet they got somewhere, somehow. Those are the people who will block you. And unfortunately, most of the time, those are people with power. Those are people who will sign, who get the power to sign something into place for it to happen. So this is what I have come across. But having said that, I have now established a foundation where I'm working with women who are captains of the industry. And one is an aircraft engineer, one she's got an MBA, she's in aviation as well. And the other gentleman works in dispatch at SAA. So this group is of people that I feel they're not selfish, they give their time. I mean, this young man teaches maths and science for free every Saturday. So those are people that you find, it's a lot of them, but because we don't talk amongst each other. I was saying to her, I'm not a social media person, but I know her. But I'm not shy, but I don't just talk to people I don't know. I wouldn't just approach you without knowing you. But I've said with her today, so she's going to become part of my, or I'll become part of your team. Yeah, I'll become part of her team. So slowly but surely you end up meeting the right people. But we must not kid ourselves and say that those females are not there who are blocking people's ways. They are there. What to do when we leave here? It's exactly that, to become sisters. Sisterhood. And sisterhood means holding each other's hand. Even if I don't have a solution for you, but if I introduce you to Fumelani might know somebody else who will know somebody, and so it goes. Because I found I've been in this industry for 20 years now, over 20 years now, and yet I don't know a lot of people. But the reason I think also is I don't know a lot of people is because I had a lot of battles that I was fighting, and eventually you become so, tunnel vision. You want to achieve something that you don't care what is happening outside. And that's what happened to me. And hence, I think it's only now that people start to know me, start to see me, because I'm at a place where, when I was saying you fake it until you make it, I think I'm now comfortable in my own skin. And I can now say uncomfortable things that people don't like, but I will tell you the truth if needs be. Yeah.
So what do we do when we leave here? I think first and foremost, support and help each other. And just remember that goals are reached smarter and effectively as a team. And teamwork makes the dream work.
It's been a rough road. Still pretty much is. But I think standing here, we sit testimony to how resilience can really work it out. But I want to say that no woman, no man is an island. We have never been, we will never make it just by ourselves. So if you need help, raise your hand. To whoever's closest to you, please raise your hand. Because I've seen us lose very, very capable people. I wasn't supposed to be the first female aeronautical engineer. There was this lady who was brilliant in the head. She was way better than I was. But because I failed maths and science in first year, which is beyond me, because if you look at my senior certificate, it's 98%, 99%. But I failed because there was no support. And she was going through. At third year, she dropped out, literally dropped off the face of the earth. Right? I've never contacted her ever since. Nobody knows where she is. And it's because you are so close, yet you are so far. The pressures that she was feeling, I felt them only when I got there. When I got to third year and I was totally excluded. The class, we were now 10, it's all white males, and you are totally isolated to a point where, just one story, that's one story. One time we were working on aeronautics with no structures is a killing subject. If you're in third year aeronautics, structures is a difficult subject. And there were 10 of us in class. It was all white males and myself. And they were going to run extra classes in preparation for exams. They decided, very fairly, to run the classes on a Saturday. Number one, I was available. But they decided to run it at a house, one of the houses, one of the guys' houses in Northcliffe, it's some suburb, where a taxi couldn't get to, right? Like a taxi couldn't get to. I was really the only one who could get there by taxi. And come back Monday, is Thursday, everybody is like, oh, Melanie, who were you? It's where were you? So it's when you feel those kind of pressures and you can't tell anybody, and it's really not your fault and it's not their fault, you know. And it's a mix-up and you find yourself in a mess. And there were people when that happened, when I called my mentors, when I saw what General Ngema, when we met also a long time ago, he's a great guy. Generally, he's a great guy. You know, he is. So, but anyway, when you meet with them during your breaks, they encourage you, they tell you, hold on, we don't know what it feels like, but you will make it. Umelani, we believe in you. So if you feel like you are in that space as a female or as a black person or as a young person, raise your hand and ask for help. There are many people in here. At least one will support.
Men like General Ngema, Ubra Ike, these are men who don't know what we call nepotism. Because some of us will look out for our families first, what we call our blood relatives first, before we even look outside. But they see talent, they see dedication, and that's all they see. They don't now look at, but where's this one coming from, you know. The General Ngema could have said, hi, I get to sell them a bid. It doesn't, you know. And it does happen, it happens. So we do have people like him who don't know nepotism. They don't know it. And for me, sitting here today, after all that has happened, and despite all that has happened, all that was supposed to hold me back, all that was supposed to destroy my life, I overcame. So I'm a victor. And when we live here, you must just figure out how to live a victorious life. We must stop being victims.
So those people who are pioneers are people who make a decision deliberately to suffer for a generation and break through barriers and shatter roofs and break glass ceilings and in the process get cut so that a future generation can then call themselves transformed. And these are those people. And transformation also is about operating in spaces where you're not given permission to, right? And these people left their homes out of their own volition to enter an industry where they knew there was no permission, but they insisted that they will succeed so that a day like this can be possible. Only 25 years into democracy. And so let's give them a round of applause before they